Spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, he is the world champion representing Dragon Kaiser Gaming. It is Oliveira.
And his opponent in the upper left in the blue, the new kid on the block, looking to make a name for himself. It's Firefly.
All right, and I am an analytical guy, so like all the bits and bobs do, you know, I like to pay attention. So Firefly didn't make his first probe at all. So this was the fastest pylon you could ever make. And as you saw there, the probe production was a bit not fluid because the first probe that popped out, boom, puts down the gateway immediately. So he's put quite a lot into getting out this gateway as fast as possible. So I'm looking forward to see what he does with it. Because very often, Protosters, they like to get out that Zealot early on, and MaxBax has definitely popularized it. You see a lot of him going up against Clem and trying to make tricky things work. And yeah, it's nice to see that the young starter here in the Chinese region is taking a page out of MaxBax's book.
Yeah, certainly. And when we talk about this, if this was a meta of a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, 12 pylon double gas would have been proxy void. We don't see that all that often, but it does feel like Firefly is going to set up for some sort of proxy right here with the probe. What he's going to go for, I mean, it could be proxy void. That's not a build that's all that great anymore. And Oliveira, this is a well-timed scout, but it's not the fastest possible one. He's going to figure something's happening. But by the time that happens, the proxy gateway is going to be done. The cyber or the proxy pylon is going to be done. The cyber's going to be done. Whatever it is that Firefly is making is going to be on the way. And honestly, Stalker might even get out in time to really deny a more of... no, it's not going to get out in time. But Oliveira, yeah, he's going to be on the back foot here.
He certainly is. I'm actually thinking it might be a Stargate, you know? Like, it could be something wild. I mean, it's actually... And it absolutely is a Stargate from him. So Zealot's making its way over. And upon seeing, like, oh, there's no Nexus going up, Oliveira's going to start thinking, like, okay, what's up? What's up? So he starts putting a bunker on the low ground, but we see what's already arriving here. Like, this is a nicely done build by Firefly. And I love the fact that he started the series off like this, because this shows me that he hasn't come in going, hey, this is what works on the ladder all the time. He's come in being like, you know what? Let's really make you play. Let's see how you do against this. But so far, Oliveira, I like how he's defending.
I mean, this pressure is about to ramp up so much. So this is a ridiculously close Stargate. Oh, look at the body block there. Zealot goes down, Marines don't. That is such a beautiful play. And now the bunker's done. And by the way, Firefly...
He supply blocked! He forgot a pylon! What? Oh my goodness. Okay, this is a... What are we seeing today, BO? This is some Protoss brain shenanigans here. Like, this is... I was talking about how I like the fact that he brought this, but then he... Oh my goodness. I feel dirty.
Yeah, I need to watch. This really does require a shower. The build is super cool. I love this. It's so much pressure, and it's such a good read against Oliveira, who went for a Marine expand, put the command center on the low ground, didn't play particularly safe. But now that this is delayed as much as it is, I mean, there are so many Marines, Cyclones as well. It's going to be a full scout if Oliveira didn't see that earlier. And now we're going to see Stalkers die. Second one's going to fall here as well. And by the time the Phoenix is out, there will be nothing. Firefly's dead. Oliveira. Man, off that one body block, and honestly, big mistake from Firefly. Oliveira takes game one.
Mate, you're doing a one base kind of pressure / all-in build, right? And you forget to make a pylon like 4 minutes into the game with this big ass build that you've got planned. That is astronomically bad. Oh my goodness, what is happening today? I'm the curse caster for this region, man. Like, this has been stuff that I was like getting all hyped about. I genuinely was curious how that was going to work. Like some of the Zealot micro early on, I think you can just attack move that bad boy if you see your opponent's microing that well. And yeah, I think the Void Ray is actually kind of tricky to deal with. But frick me, dude, that was not meant to happen like that. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
I think, again, this is something that we talked about it a lot last series, but Firefly is the young gun. He absolutely, like, he's had a good run here. He has a lot of promise. But he's running into the reigning world champion, the man that has ruled China and now the Asian region in general with this iron fist. And he understands that he's going to be, if he wants to beat Oliveira, he's going to be punching up. This is not going to be an easy setup. This is not going to be a walk in the park. This is not going to be this group stage matchup that he may be running into. So you do feel all this pressure. You feel so much to make sure you do everything perfectly. And we talked about it last series. Trying to go at 100%, that's a good way to make mistakes. If you are playing with so much mental pressure to do everything perfectly, you're going to forget a pylon. You're going to get your Zealot get body blocked out when it really should just attack the SCVs. Whatever it is, Oliveira, he's been here. His defining characteristic, what allowed him to win that world championship, he stayed collected when no one else did. And he's doing it again.
Yeah, I mean, like the stakes then were a lot higher than now. So this is kind of like a breath of fresh air for him. But holy crap. Yeah, that was not the way that he wanted to start things off, young Firefly. Yeah, not at all. Anyhow, Equilibrium. We have yet to see this map today. Spawning over in the top left as our red Terran, it is Oliveira.
And in the upper right, hopefully he shakes off the nerves or shakes his fingers out and starts to play some real StarCraft. In the blue, down 1, it's Firefly.
I'm so sad I didn't get to see how that was going to work out, you know? Because I think holding off the Void Ray can be a lot trickier with the new Cyclone, obviously having less range and what have you. This game, though, Firefly did not skip out on the first probe, so we'll be going for a more orthodox build. And yeah, I like the fact that he brought something weird to game 1, just the execution was definitely off. But Oliveira, you got to say, like, the body blocking was good, the dancing around was good. Even, like, as soon as the bunker finished, the Stalker shot in midair, boom, dodged with that SCV. He did everything he had to, and Firefly did the rest. It was lovely to see.
Now, Ben, as we got into game 2, now obviously this is not happening, but I was really hoping we might see Proxy Tempest or something, which is actually a build that has been gaining a little bit of popularity. Maybe not against Terrans, but VODs have been loving it against Zergs in particular. Double Gate Tempest is really, really strong. And, you know, Equilibrium is this map that has all this dead airspace, but it seems like Firefly is going to do something a lot more standard. It's going to be a cyber expand. We're going to see where he goes from here. And from a series planning perspective, I don't hate it. Do something crazy game 1, put the fear of God in your opponent, and then play standard from there. But I don't think Oliveira has much fear in him. You know, he held that one so easily that if anything, I think he's going to welcome aggression from Firefly at that point. Because if it's going to be such an easy win, I mean, why not?
No, yeah, absolutely. Like that backfired tremendously, and maybe Oliveira doesn't even realize why. Although, you know, anytime I finish a game, I do a quick rewind just at the end, just to check the last like 20 seconds or so, just see the lead up to the bad thing happening. But yeah, Oliveira's going to realize, like, going into this series, Firefly, he's no catwalk, even though he kind of made it a catwalk the first game. He is a good player, and now he's doing something far more standard, probably far more in his realm of comfortable, or comfort even. So yeah, now we're going to actually get to see a game between these two, hopefully. Oliveira going for the Reaper Expand, going for the factory, and then the second barracks early on, meaning he's absolutely committing to bio. And I like these kind of builds because it allows you, if you see your opponent doing something ridiculous, you do get to punish it with a lot of units on the map.
Certainly, although Equilibrium's a bit weird, right? Where it is this big map. Running across the map takes a long time. It takes a good long time, and sieging up the Protoss natural, it's not great. If a Firefly takes the third base here, which it seems like he might, there's a decent siege up position around the gold, but Firefly's actually going to take the rich base. Six gold mineral patches, rich gas as well. This is going to rapidly turn into something that Firefly is going to have to defend, but Oliveira is going to feel pressured to punish because, again, yeah, it's only 6 mineral patches, Ben. It's not 8, but that's still a lot of potential income in this forward base.
And this is ridiculously early as well. Like this was like 3:10 or something ridiculous. Like normally the fast thirds are at 4 minutes. So this is absolutely scandalous by Firefly. But I love that he is cutting savage corners. Did Oliveira scout it just then? I can't believe he moved over to it, but didn't quite go down the ramp. Maybe he's just kind of checking out what's going on. I'm looking at his camera and he's flicking around all over the shot, but I do like his build that he's gone for here, because I talked about he can have a lot of units out very quickly with this 2-rack setup. So this, like, Firefly's gonna have to defend this at some point in the very near future, because Oliveira now knows what he's up against.
Firefly, though, is building into that defense very quickly. He got the forge pretty quickly. He's got armor on the way. He's getting chronoed out. And with the Twilight...
Super fast forge,
Yeah, very fast. And with the Twilight done here as well, yeah, this is exact. He's skipping Blink. He understands that this is going to trigger a Terran attack, so you get a lot of gateways, you don't get a lot of gas, you get charged out as quickly as possible, and you invite the Terran into your third base with open arms saying, come Oliveira, attack into me. I have chargelets. And if you can hit that timing, if you get your gateways out in time, these Terran pushes, they're great against Stalker play. They can do really well against Quick Colossus. You get about 30 Zealots in their face, they don't punch through.
I like a lot of this setup by Firefly. He didn't recall over there, maybe thinking about maybe if he needs a drop, but he moved the workers from his natural. And if we look at the gas count, he's just been on 2 gases because, yeah, he knows he's going to be on 8 Gateway Zealot very soon with +1 charge. I actually think he's utilized this map beautifully. He also cut probes a little bit, but I think that's good because he's already played the greedy card. And yeah, keeping that recall available for something like this, getting that pylon up on location as well. I think Oliveira might run into some trouble very, very quickly here. Firefly's making a lot of cool calls.
Yes, and I like the decision from Oliveira there. Start to multitask, start to try to really force your opponent to play around, but that pylon, I don't even think it got killed. I think it got canceled, so Firefly is going to know. Warp in Stalkers, warp in Zealots in the main base. There's a drop coming as, well, Cyclones on the high ground are going to try to do something, but they're kind of paper. That being said, there's no warp in here. It's only 3 Stalkers. Firefly saw this. He lost the pylon, and I guess he assumed that Oliveira wasn't going to join in. Zealots are great in an open field in this middle line. It's not incredible, and now there's going to have to be a recall as the Cyclones put pressure on the 4th base. It's a small move out of Oliveira, but this is already a decent amount of damage.
It certainly is, and you know, the ace up the sleeve kind of thing, the +1 armor with the charge lots, it's been thrown out now. And if there's one thing that charge lots don't want to go up against, A, it's drops all over the shop, and B, it's a stimmed up big Terran blob, which Oliveira can very happily tech up to and not actually attack with a big army. This, Oliveira's playing smart as well. We're finally getting a series in a game here.
I mean...
Oh, shield battery for that, and it didn't even save it? Okay. I still feel that Firefly's making some sketchy calls here.
I love the build. The build is brilliant. It sets expectation and then counters those expectations. That's so smart. But this tile that Oliveira is playing, the way that Firefly's actually executing it, though, it's not as good. He has the brains. The executions may not be quite there yet, but he does have a Warp Prism on the way. Blink halfway done. He's gonna have 1/1 charge lots against this just +1 Terran bio. I mean, this is a fairly wide open area, but look at what Oliveira is doing. Supply depots, missile turrets. That's gonna mess with the Zealot AI so much, Ben.
Yeah, and I've been looking at that probe count. It has not gone up anything for Firefly. He is absolutely all in with this. And yeah, one thing that this army is weak against is just a massive blob of bio, which is exactly what Oliveira is going for. He has to be careful, though. He's not out of the works. Look how many Zealots are going to be on the map. There's actually 30 Zealots, 33 Marines. I almost want Oliveira to get in his mineral line. Just make it as small and trapped and claustrophobic as possible here, because it's going to get very messy very soon, and he knows it's coming.
That well, Blink is done. Where's the Warp Prism? Okay, into the main base here. Attacks in the natural, attacks in the main base. This should be the time that Firefly looks to pull the trigger, but he's not going just yet. Dealing, in fact, that's a lot of Zealots in the main base right now as the Warp Prism will fall. And Firefly still not pulling the trigger here. Now he's gonna go Pop's Guardian Shield, but only half the army. Zealots are slow, and the Stalkers are taking shots, but even still, tanks will go down. 12 SCVs are falling. Oliveira into the middle line. Stimmed bio is so strong into the choke here, but the Zealots are absolutely hewing them down. Medivacs will fall, and Firefly is actually punching through this. Despite everything, the Warp Prism did such a good job. 27 dead SCVs, and this upgrade timing, all the gold base here. Yeah, the execution, Ben, it wasn't great in the early game, but it punches through, and this build out of Firefly, it ties our series up.
It does. Okay, so again, I like the build out of Firefly. I think it was well done. And the fact that he's been so extreme, like one thing that I preach very constantly in StarCraft 2, it's like, you got to be decisive. So there was a few key calls there. He was like, okay, I'm going to be greedy to this very early third, but I'm not going to overdo the greed. So he kept that recall available, which, you know, softened the blow. Like, he cauterized the wound. Even though it was a funny recall, funny battery overcharge, he knew what he was aiming for, which was this massive Zealot flood. if I'm Oliveira and he had eyes on all that happening, got to see the early charge, got to see the +1, got to know he's against gold base and what have you, and even saw the Zealots moving out, like he lift up that third, put it to block your natural, like literally, because as long as your army's all in one spot, you had 4 siege tanks for all the Stalkers, so it's not even like you have to worry about the Stalkers, just make it tight, make it compact, solidify where you are. Definitely Oliveira getting a little bit too confident against what he was going up against because he felt it was all going well. And Firefly caught him absolutely off guard there. It was actually very nicely done by Firefly, and Oliveira a little bit too cocky.
Yeah, I think the other thing we have to point out here is how strong that build was because, again, that was not executed perfectly. Damage in the main base. Cyclones do so much. Probes start falling. And then Firefly goes. He makes the attack happen. He moves in with the Stalkers a solid 5-10 seconds before the Zealots join the fray. They eat multiple tank shots. Yeah, Guardian Shield's nice, but they still eat multiple tank shots. And still, Firefly just runs right through Oliveira. It's a 1-1 timing. Tons of supply, tons of mineral income, building all those Zealots. That might be a build I think we see in the future. Maybe not from Firefly. It may be map specific. You might only see it on, of course, on Equilibrium. But I would not be surprised to see players like Max Pax or Hero or someone pick that one up a little bit because, again, that was not, the execution there was not incredible. And even still, it kind of smashed Oliveira. Again, you're talking about execution mistakes from Oliveira. That's fair. Even still, I mean, it's pretty good.
I mean, definitely. Like, if Firefly took a map of Oliveira so far, we're 1-1. We're, tied up in this series. And next map will be hard lead. I do believe they call it these days, as opposed to hard lead. But I'm definitely going to say if he was against a Terran that was fully aware of what was going on, Oliveira definitely, some red flags in his play there. Because it's all well and good having siege tanks against the Stalkers and the Sentries, which, he sniped down that Guardian Shield really early in that fight, but not the best against the massive flood of Zealots that he was up against. Very questionable. Like, sometimes I watch Oliveira, he's obviously very quick, good micro and stuff, but some of the plays are just too risky. But we're going to get on into it. Spawning over in the top left here on hard lead, as the Red Terran, it is Oliveira. I was about to say Beermulf then.
Yes, I'm a world champion Terran. Just happens to be casting as well. In the bottom right, in the blue, a brilliant build in game 2. His name is Firefly.
I do love decisiveness in StarCraft 2. Like, very often you're given many options of roads to go down, and some players get stuck in between them, but it was very, very clearly obvious that Firefly had his do's and don'ts that game, and just kind of stuck with them. And even though some things maybe not going quite according to plan, overall, you got the dub. And that's a big deal. That makes me think that he's planned out this series, maybe map by map, and just got a specific plan for each map. And that is a really good way of approaching your StarCraft in series like this.
It really shows a lot of preparation as well, which has been one of the criticisms I think that have been leveraged against Western players a little bit indirectly. It's like, wow, the GSL is the preparation-based format, and that the Koreans are really good at that one, and that's why Serral wins, because he's good at the Weekenders. Well, Firefly has shown some preparation in this series. We've had 2 very different looks. We had Proxy Void Ray. Unfortunately, made a mistake there, forgot his pylon. Happens, especially when you're playing game 1 against a world champion in the upper bracket. Round of 4, it's not easy. But game 2, again, a very different look, a map-specific build. And now it's a much more standard, though. Hard lead is map number 3. And we've seen 2 weird things. Is this where Firefly finally settles down, or does he have something odd for this map too, Ben?
I often think, like, how people often talk about, like, StarCraft results in tournaments and stuff, and if they are sticking with the standard, it can often be a bit like, predictable. Like, I've often felt the big strength of Protoss is the fact that they're unpredictable, or rather they have a variety of strategies that are quite damn good. So, I mean, does he have to start dialing it back? I don't think so, actually. And I kind of like the brand of Protoss he's been throwing at Oliveira, because the tricky Protoss is something that I personally fear a lot. And yeah, Oliveira's builds have been close to as standard can be. Like, it's either a Marine expand or a Reaper expand. So You're the one, or rather, he throws down the strategy, you scout it, and then you get to make calls on how you want to bust it. And so far, look what he's going for. He's going for a Twilight Council. He's getting a second gate on the go. Like, he could absolutely dial it back, just go for a nice, safe third, and just be like, hey, I'm going to deal with you this way. But he could also dial up the pressure and go for a 4-gate. Like, the ball is in his court, and I think that's where Protoss want to be.
Man, my DT senses are tingling so hard right now with this pylon, with this probe on the bottom side. I'll patrol the Twilight done, but I guess it's just going to be Blink. It's going to be pretty standard here. We have to keep an eye to see how many gateways are going to go down. For now, it's just 2. There's a gateway on the high ground, a gateway on the low ground, and
could go for a third in the bottom, like really trick his opponent. And I'm just looking at Oliveira's scouting here with a single Marine. Like, he's playing solid, because being able to know where a third is happening, so not just where it's happening, when it's happening, that's a huge deal, right? But Firefly, again, this is cool. This is the kind of stuff that will absolutely catch you off guard. These Terran builds are absolutely all about knowing when things happen. And the fact that Firefly is doing this, and he's absolutely showing that, hey, it's not happening, and it's not happening where you think it's happening. This is beautiful StarCraft.
Dude, not only is he proxying the third base, which by itself is awesome, he's proxying double forge. I'm not going to say I've never seen this, but I can't remember the last time I saw this. Now, he is going to have to be careful. He's going to have to defend. There's a Banshee on the way. This does feel like it's rearing its ugly head into one of these 2-base pushes coming out of Oliveira. But if he can hold on, he's going to build himself such an advantage. 1-1 getting started at 4:30 into this game. That's stupid fast.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, this is like doubly productive. So, I mean, this Banshee might just scout that base if he doesn't move it. And it does look like that green line is going straight for it. In fact, he's moved it a little bit. Oh my god, it's going to miss it. It's actually going to miss it. So right now, remember, he thinks he's against a 2-base Blink setup. That's why he's so defensive right now. He's not against that at all. We see what he's up against. And yeah, that scouting there, very unfortunate for Oliveira. He is not prepared for this at all.
I mean, the thing is, though, he's still moving out against this. And honestly, a big move out is better against a proxy forge, proxy third base than it is against a 2-base setup, because you've committed 450 minerals to a third base. You've committed all this money to 1-1 in forge, and well, Blink is done, but charge isn't just yet, and these upgrades won't be ready in time for the first idea of this push. But Stalkers may be getting damage on a Cyclone. Ooh. Stays alive just barely. This push coming out of Oliveira is terrifying. There's a lot of power in this army, but he's actually going back home. He sees all the, that's what it is. He sees the gateways. He thinks this is all in, and yes, that's a lot of gateways. But again, Firefly, he's on 49 probes. He's got a third base. This is such brilliant, just misinformation that Firefly's thrown onto the map right now.
It's beautiful StarCraft, man. Like, if that Banshee flew there in the bottom left, boom, that's a dead base. But that little pathing differential there, and it's getting to scout only half the story, getting to see this massive gateway flood in the units and no third in his eyes. And look, he's scouting on the absolute wrong side of the map with that Banshee. He's like, wait, something's going on, right? So he scouted all those bases, and now he's got a Marine in the bottom left, because it's like, all right, where are you? Unfortunately, that Adept is badly placed there. It's not at the Zeld Naga, so he has no idea about the Marine. He could have definitely cancelled it, but the jig is up. Now Oliveira knows, like, aha, you do have a third, damn you. And now he has to go out. Now he needs to punish this, but is it too late?
I think it might be. 1-1's done. Charge is done here. This mass gateway flood is ready. And Firefly, the moment he scouted his army on the left side, he knows what he has to do right now. He's got the Zeld Naga here. And I think give him a little bit more time. He needs like one more round of Warpins. He should be in a fantastic spot. Oh, nice job there. Widowmines are going to go down. Tank gets down before it even gets a shot. Second one gets a Zealot a little bit, sure. But already so much of the power of this army. Widowmines fall, tanks go down, Adepts on the backside. I think they got a little bit of something as well. Firefly is doing such a good job buying time. And we talked about 1-1 being done. 2-2's getting chronoed out here. This is going to be right now it's a 1 upgrade timing. This is going to be a 3 upgrade lead coming out of Firefly with just tons of gateway units. And if Oliveira tries to take his third base, I mean, he's got his third command center done. He's posturing like that's what he's going to try. Firefly is going to sweep him from the map.
I mean, Oliveira has to bunker down and get a third base up because he knows that that's been up for a while. This drop, though, look. Oh, no! That gets caught out by Firefly. I think he had Observer. Yeah, he did look above the third base of Oliveira, so he knew exactly what was coming. He should wait, though. Look, he's invested so much in that 2-2. He has to be patient. Okay, just using the Stalkers, getting rid of the shield, that's all right for now. And he gets into the main base, so doing two things at once. Firefly is actually playing really good this game. I love this Protoss.
Oh, Blink's on top of the tank, though. That's so many Widow Mines, though, and it's a lot of damage. Even still, Zealots get on top right before 2-2. It's a bit of an anti-timing, but even still, the tech goes down. 18 SCVs fall. And honestly, Demu, this feels like prep work. This is not the big push. This is the push that softens you up for the big push. It knocks the tech down, and now 2-2's done. He didn't trade that heavily for it, although he did lose the Warp Prism, so it's a little bit hard to get the reinforcements, and I don't like that move down the ramp like that. Not when you don't have your Zealots, not when you're not quite ready for it. But as the Warp Prism gets ready, as a Widow Mine gets dodged once again, this army with 2-2 from Firefly, it's about to slap pretty hard.
It definitely is. I mean, it was definitely an anti-timing, like hitting literally 10 seconds before your 2-2 finished. That would have been so much better. And now, you know, the jig is up. Like, Oliveira knows exactly what he's up against. He doesn't need to make Vikings anymore. He absolutely knows that. And the Vikings get sniped anyway. Now it's a bio army, but 2-2. That is huge for the Protoss. And he lost so many SCVs. And GG. Look at that. The prep is coming online. And Firefly, despite maybe a little bit of too early attack in there, overall, I love how he's approaching this because it is doing something normal, or when I say normal, like taking a third base is absolutely normal for Protoss with this kind of build, but doing it in a different location, like I can't tell you how many times I've lost to freaking Rotterdam where all of a sudden there's a proxy base where I don't know where it is, and I'm like, I'm so far ahead this game, and then all of a sudden I lose, and I'm like, oh no, like, and it can catch you totally off guard. And so I love the fact that Firefly is just approaching this series with a brand of Protoss that just show that you have to be not lucky against, but you have to be on point against. So like that, a Marine scouting a slightly different way, a Banshee scouting a slightly different way. Oliveira is going to have to start approaching this series with, all right, this is a bit weird. Keeping that Reaper alive might be a big deal. Having a good idea of when a third base should go down, and then looking slightly more peripheral around the map and stuff. So yeah, I like what Firefly's bringing. I absolutely do. I hate to play it, but that makes me love it from like his perspective, because if he does feel a little bit outgunned to you, he is not showing it in game, which is lovely.
Ben, I love how all my broadcasts with you this far this season they've been an opportunity for you to complain about playing against Rotterdam on ladder. Yep. That's what's been happening, but I agree with you. Firefly, his builds have been, okay, game one, he messed up a pylon. But his builds have been so sharp in this series. They've been so tailored against not only Terran, but they've been tailored specifically against how Oliveira likes to play. And it puts him on series point. And the crazy thing about this, Ben, is we're looking at these builds, we're looking at these games, and we're still pointing out these tangible mistakes that Firefly is making. Attacking before 2-2 is done, 10 seconds before 2-2 is done. Going in that previous game and blinking with the Stalkers a solid 5 seconds before you attack with the Zealots. Things like that a higher level Protoss is not going to do. And still, he is sweeping Oliveira from the map time and time again, really in a way that we don't see all that often, just off the strength of these builds. And yes, execution good enough to do them, fine. But it's off the builds, it's off of really pulling the wool over Oliveira's eyes. And I guess the one question I have is, how much longer can he continue to do this? We saw Jaishi go up 2-1 off of a little bit weird play, off of some meta play. And then Cyan remembered who he was and took him down 3-2. How much longer can Firefly get away with this?
You know, I don't know, but I often talk about Rotterdam and I talk about the boy at the casino. So I've definitely got this strong entity linked in my brain about the two. But Firefly right now, he's just playing good Protoss. Like, I did mention it that you can play the stable Protoss and like the normal, or you can play the slightly off-brand, but still it's so close to the truth that it's like, then it makes it believable kind of thing. And you see that Oliveira, just a few little things going awry where he sees something, he's like, oh my gosh, it's a gateway explosion. Thinks he's off 2 base and he's going to get all in. No, then it's like, well, what is it? What is it? Like, yeah, it's just good Protoss play out of Fire. Like, I do feel that having the backbone of the Protoss play, super important. But then being able to just kind of, make it a little bit blurry and of where you're actually going is really tough for Terran to deal with. And Oliveira, so far, like a lot of his openings have been allowing his opponent to make the moves, right? Like it's not the double gas opening or anything like that. It's all about, hey, I'm going to expand. I'm going to get a Marine out, so my scouting is going to be minimal. So yeah, maybe Oliveira needs to throw his own little bit of, hey, I'm going to be early out on the map here.
Yeah, certainly. And now we move into probably the most standard map we've had thus far. Maybe the friendliest for Terran. I don't know, but it's Oceanborn. It's map 3. On the bottom right, in the red, the reigning world champion, the reigning regional champion, but he's down a map in this series for Dragon Kites of Gaming. It's Oliveira.
And spawning over in the top left here is our blue Protoss, currently 2-1 up. It is Firefly. Man, it's so cool to see him playing well. Like, I mean, it's so cool to see, like, the Protoss brain behind things working, you know? Like, Cyan in last series, after being 0-2 down, you got to see how he evolved and learned his opponent as the series went on. And here, Firefly, he's not necessarily, like, learning how his opponent's doing. This is a totally different Protoss. This is, hey, if I scout you doing X, I'm going to do Y. This is what I've prepped, and this is... And it's just really, really cool to see. Because if Oliveira has been just... also sort of predictable in a way that, yeah, he's a really damn good solid Terran, but if he's just doing these expansion builds with one gas, and you can do something a little bit wet and wild, like, just remember the first game with that pylon. Like, he forgot his pylon, got supply block doing a Void Ray all-in. Like, that was a horrible start. For him to get back on the horse and back into this series and be ahead in the series, that is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and it's so cool. It's so refreshing to see a Protoss playing like this, right? Because I feel like for the longest time, Protoss has been a bit stagnant. They've been playing the same builds over and over again. Players like Showtime, for example, have really good execution. But the meta hasn't been evolving, and there haven't been players that really push that forward until, say, Hero comes back. And then Hero revolutionizes the way we play PvZ, and he wins the World Championship, or a GSL because of it. He gets top 4 at the World Championship. He wins Atlanta. We see MaxPax go. He did the same thing when he was on the come up with a MaxPax build, and suddenly Terrans are terrified against ever expanding. And now we see Firefly here going and playing it differently, messing with the meta and doing things over again. And that's really promising. We see his micro is good, his macro is solid. And with these interesting ways to play, he's making it a lot harder to run into than just, I'm going to 4-gate blink every game, have fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, Oliveira's definitely making it easier for him, isn't he? Because if you scout your opponent, you see, like, oh, there's no barracks in the base, or, you know, double gas, you immediately have to change what you're doing. And so far, Oliveira is allowing Firefly to make the calls, to make the reactions to him. And then Oliveira has to kind of play in the dark and be like, all right, what are you actually up to? And so far, if I was in Oliveira's shoes, I'd have totally changed the playbook. I'd have started flipping it, being like, all right, now you have to react to me a little bit. But so far, Firefly is the one to divvy it up, and yet again, it's a Stargate back at home, and I'm very curious as to how he's going to play this. Oliveira going for the 1-1-1 with a slightly later second barracks, and Firefly again with a very quick third base.
I mean, this is a somewhat defensible third. It's still a wide open joke, but at least it's still on the high ground platform, and if the Terran tries to run up the gullet, there are ramps you can defend. But I think it's interesting to go Stargate here, as this Cyclone will knock down the Adept, which is very nice. Shutting down scouting like that is awesome. I was under the impression that Stargate, again, the first couple weeks of the patch, it really did feel like Stargate was
Cyclone.
dead. Ooh, it's going to get lifted here, and the Stalkers are going to be able to run right on over. Cyclones are good at many things, but Ben, they are paper. 110 HP, armored tag, Stalkers kill them so fast. So Cyclone now dead, no map control for Oliveira. And I was going to say, I was under the impression that, well, Cyclones really countered Stargate play super hard. You could reactively all in. But knocking down that Cyclone early, getting this Phoenix, it's a lot of early aggression coming out of Firefly.
Ooh.
And again, this is just trying to make Oliveira uncomfortable. This is a cool move.
It is a cool move, but, you know, okay. Bear with me here, bear with me. So Oliveira sent out the Cyclone. That was kind of his first scout of the game, basically. of really seeing what's happening as the game's got going. And he got to see a Phoenix, even though we lost the Cyclone. And in his head, he's like, all right, I've got production here. I don't think he's thrown down, or in fact, he's going for Combat Shield first, not Stim. He's not thrown down an Engineering Bay, and he's just busting out units with his Starport. There's no add-on for it. He is going to be all about applying the pressure here, realizing that if you've gone for a Phoenix build, it takes a while for that to get going. I should be able to hit you before it gets going. And Firefly, he hasn't committed to more Phoenix here, so he's also thinking about what he's weak against, but will he be ready in time? This is some cool play from both of them this game.
Dude, Firefly's so in his head. I don't know that it's fast enough, but single Phoenix, that's it. Going into 4 additional gateways, charge +1 armor is such a read. Now, it may just be a little bit too slow for this combat shield push, but combat shields aren't ready yet. And charge is going to be done in just about 20 seconds. The single Phoenix can still be really solid against these tanks. As Guardian Shield combat, or Shield Battery Overcharge as well, is keeping things alive. He's just buying time because Ben, charge is done in about 20 seconds here. +1 just behind. The gateways are done. Firefly, he just has to last a little bit longer. But this is such a soul read coming out of the brain on this man. It's still not an easy hold, but the reads here are so smart.
They really are. I mean, those tanks have a lot of work to do. Those Stalkers are all in the red here. They can get blown up, and the tanks do fall before the final shots. Firefly is sort of holding here, and now the charge shots are ready. These aren't Stim Marines. These are just Combat Shield Marines, and now +1 armor is done by Firefly, and now he's feeling that he can go back into the Phoenix as well, given that Blink is delayed, maybe to deal with drops in the future. Firefly holds.
I'm so sad that we don't have player interviews during regionals, and we wouldn't have a Chinese translator probably anyways. I would love to talk to Firefly after this game because, after the series, was this a response to what he saw? The Phoenix in the main base, seeing the setup that Oliveira was going for, was this just how he wanted to play in the start? I don't know. But regardless of what it is, Firefly, he's got, for years now, days gone by, we would talk about Star Sense. This ability for a player to take a look at the map, read the map, see what's happening, a very limited information. Firefly, Star Sense up the wazoo, figuring out what's happening, getting his timing perfectly here, and now Oliveira, he doesn't have a third base. He committed very hard to this pressure. Stim's gonna be the follow-up, but by the time that happens, this is gonna be probably 1-1. Blink should be done. Firefly has done, I know we've been talking about Firefly, not about Oliveira, but his ability to read this game in this series is quite honestly off the charts. This is so impressive. But this push with the SCVs that, by the way, he did not scout that SCVs on the way. It's still a big problem.
Oh, he needs a force field on the ramp. He needs to buy time. Okay, it's not good enough. He needed that force field in a slightly better location. It does stop the tanks, and it does actually hold it for a little bit because of that block. But Firefly, this army arriving here, this is the best shot that Oliveira has this game.
Look at the
He's going to get collapsed on, though, from both sides.
Exactly here. Tons of Zealots on the right side, on the left side. +1's not going to be done in time, but neither for Oliveira, and Zealots onto the backside here. It's a massive surround, and now one tank gets lifted as well. The extra Phoenix doing so much here, but the SCVs, they're the first to fall. There's so much stimmed bio, Ben. There is so much, and Oliveira seems like he's going to punch through. We need another warp in, and now the tanks are going to go down. Another warp in from Firefly. It's all that he needs. Blink is done in 10 seconds, and Ben, I think he's held. That was so much Marines, but the surround from Firefly, the aborted run by, it does so much.
This is actually really good out of Firefly. I'm a bit surprised by the Phoenix committal, but again, remember, he's ahead in this game. Like, the one way that he can lose this is if drops go here, there, and everywhere. Needs to keep warping in the Stalkers, needs to do something about this mass Zealot ball, and he knows that there's a round 2 incoming. Is Shield Battery overcharged up again? It will be in very 2 seconds here, so he will have that online again, but still, this is a lot of Marines that you have to respect. Shield Battery online again, and the tank lifted up. I think almost you can leave that there, actually. It could do friendly fire damage, but fighting without Guardian Shield, that is risky, man.
Yeah, I don't care that it's 1-1, no Guardian Shield. Oh man, the low Phoenix gets gunned down so fast, and Firefly, he had the soul read. Honestly, he had the first hold, he had the second hold, but at this point, there is so much stimmed bio. He didn't expect the second SCV pull. That being said, though, this bio army, he gets, that's such an Artosis pylon. I was gonna say, that being said, this army is all in the red, it's all in the orange, it's very low. But if you can't warp in any more Zealots, man, that doesn't matter.
Oh, I mean, he's going in with the probes now. He keeps on lifting up that tank. The Stalkers have a lot of work to do here. Now the tank is firing on those Stalkers and supplies. I think Oliveira's doing it, man. What a turnaround by him. Firefly getting massively caught off guard with his second push. I have no idea why he kept on making the Phoenix. He just needed ground units. Phoenix against pure bio here. Oh my goodness, well played, Oliveira.
You know, Ben, if that pylon doesn't go down, if those gateways, if he has 5 more zealots, I think he wins that fight. I think he makes the hold happen on the pro pull, but instead, it's a massive Artosis pylon. 5 gateways, haven't been able to build anything for a long time now. And we can see Firefly, he's got 600 minerals in the bank. He just can't spend it. So he's lasting just long enough. Probes are gonna get pulled at this point. Yeah, this game is over. We're going to game 5. I think Firefly is still incredibly impressive to me, but Oliveira, he found that opportunity. He found the one thing that he had to do to win this game. But even still, man, Firefly, he made him work so hard for it. But Ben, game 5 on the way.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm a little shocked because I did feel that he was on top of seeing what was happening there, and I really thought like, okay, as long as he buys time, gets like a lot of ground units out, but the fact that he kept making the Phoenix was very interesting. Like he sees the SV pull and everything, and if there's one thing that Phoenix really don't fare well against, it's these kind of armies with that mass bio ball. And yeah, like that final fight there, the real one that happened, kind of the Zealots ran in out of range of the green battery overcharge, didn't have the sentry available. Then he had 5 Phoenix just kind of sat around that couldn't engage whatsoever, and that's such a big amount of money. You're absolutely right with that Artosis pylon. Just super duper duper surprising. But yeah, cool game regardless. And getting to 2 series with a game 5 in both of them, very different come-abouts. But yeah, Firefly should have been 3-1, should have been through and taken down Oliveira to the lower bracket there. That would have been amazing for him.
Dude, the other cool thing about that, again, I am just... the brain on this man is just so big, but we can see the difference between a fight when you have a surround and a fight when you're attacking from one side, a fight when you have Guardian Shield and a fight when you don't, a fight when there's shield battery overcharge and a fight when there isn't. And it really did feel that, honestly, with Firefly holding the first one, that should have been the hard one. His blink wasn't done then. His upgrades weren't done. The army was bigger. There were more SCVs, but Oliveira showing us that, you know what, despite that, where there's a will, there's a way, and Stimmed Bio is very, very good. So now we move to game 5, and now the question, again, does Firefly have a 5th build? Does he have a 5th read in this game? Can he make it happen? Because I firmly believe that he can take this series. I think he should have won that last game. As you said, this should be a 3-1. But as we saw in that last series, just because there's form, it doesn't mean there's class. Oliveira, he's a world champion for a reason.
He absolutely is. I mean, that was a game where I feel he thought, screw it, I have only one chance to win this, and it was just to go. And I think that was a really clutch call by him, and it absolutely paid off. We're going to get right in to the final map here. I believe it is Alcione. Spawning over in the top right here. Final map of this series. It is the world champ. It is Oliveira.
And of course, his opponent in the bottom left, the biggest of brains. For the Platinum Heroes, it's Firefly.
I think this has been an issue of Oliveira being given weird, difficult reads to make, and Firefly's been making really cool calls with the builds. Like, you got to remember how that started off. That one Phoenix caught the Cyclone. That you might be like, giving up your Phoenix knowledge so quickly is kind of a big deal, but it was almost like a bait to make the attack happen afterwards, which he was super damn prepared for. Held the second one, but then it was the third one that got him. So it feels like they're both really pushing each other to the limit here, and it's been cool. And look what Firefly's doing here, Bio. I love it. Why stop in game 5 with a slightly weird and slightly off-brand Protoss where it's so close to the truth that kind of hard to make these reads?
I mean, the one thing I think we do need to point out is that we're 5 games into this series now. Firefly has shown us a very different build every single time, but he took the gold base in game 2. He has shown the propensity when given an opportunity for a high yield base, he's going to go for it. And honestly, It's not that weird to see a Protoss take the gold on this map. If it's Hero, certainly you just know he's gonna take it. So this is not a proxy third base. This is not something that is I don't think is gonna take Oliveira a while to scout, especially with this Reaper opening. Of all the games where Firefly is doing something weird, this is the least of it. And I think it's the one that is most likely that Firefly is gonna get scouted very quickly in. And then Oliveira, I mean, if this base is scouted pretty quickly, it is very hard to defend.
It definitely is. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens in this one. Like, Oliveira, very quick look, sees the natural, nothing there. What does he do? The Reapers immediately come over and it's like, all right, this is a bit suspicious here. And then comes in. Now, luckily for Firefly, or when I say luckily, planned out by Firefly, shield battery here immediately. 12 probes fully saturated immediately. This makes me think that Firefly has not planned this game to go longer than maybe a good 5-6 minutes. So get looking to see a gateway explosion here, because the probe count, he doesn't need to probe up anymore in this base, nor is he doing on his main base. He's going up to a lot of gateways here, BO.
Yeah, this is one way to make sure that you don't get punished by heavy Terran pressure in your main base and your, I guess this is technically your natural, which is the way Terran wants to do this, by the way. Drop in the main, put pressure on this base. Protoss cannot handle it appropriately. Well, 4-gate Blink. All in the man. Do not allow him to get out on the map. Don't allow him to put pressure on you. Put pressure on him instead. And that's a really powerful idea. Blink already on the way. It's going to get chronoed out here. 4 gateways. I guess the one question I have is, without a robo, do we... Well, I was going to ask, do we have a proxy? And the idea was to put a proxy on the map with the probe. But this gets scouted out so quickly. The Reaper and the Hellion, they scout the probe moving out on the map here. And that is going to slow things down quite a bit, Ben. Any sort of aggression from Firefly, you need that proxy pylon, and it's just not there yet.
It certainly is going to slow it down. I was thinking maybe he could... I mean, even if you warp in at this gold base and go over there, it could, you know, potentially help propel things, but he's going to kill the rocks to make his move out there early on, given that he doesn't have Blink just yet. So we'll start his venture. And Oliveira is actually going for a Raven. Like, this is interesting. Like, I feel that that's maybe to shut down like a Warp Prism attempt or something, but Firefly is currently supply blocked for the moment. All these gateways do have their warp in available. His army's going to be very big very soon. I just hope that he's got this follow-up nicely prepped for himself, you know, because no aggressive warp in pylon. Maybe he's thinking of being aggressive, but getting a third base behind it. I don't know. I feel like the tempo's off a little bit.
Yeah, and there's no way to see the high ground, by the way. We don't have a sentry. We don't have any high ground vision. The Adepts are going to try to shit in, but they're not going to find much. That being said, it's a single tank. It's a bunker here. Firefly, he might just try to blink on top of this tank. Runs in. Doesn't even feel the need to blink, but it's so much damage. 3 shots from the tank. A lot of the Stalkers go low, but the tank is dead. And we're going to see more warp-ins coming in behind this. Firefly, though, you're right. The tempo is weird. He's taking a third base behind this. He feels the same weirdness we do, I think. He doesn't really feel safe to commit.
No, and his timing, like all that probe cutting, at this point, given that Oliveira is still alive, I'm looking at that income tab. Oliveira is actually ahead with quite a few more workers, and that gold base won't be alive forever. I really felt like Firefly set himself up for, I don't want this game to go on longer than 5 minutes. And right now, this is now getting to a point where it no longer is super beneficial to him. Now Oliveira's got himself into a decent spot, getting all the upgrades online, and now Oliveira knows that, hey, I've got a really good point of attack. That gold base, if I get behind it, behind those minerals, that is beautiful for me.
Yeah, I think the big thing here that we have to talk about is the fact that, well, Oliveira went and he killed that probe that was running onto the other side of the map. He denied any sort of proxy gateway, any sort of proxy pylon that would have allowed Firefly to reinforce pretty much directly into the fight. But now, oh, he's going to get stim. SCVs have to get pulled here so quickly. 14 seconds, and stim now is going to start to get repaired. That was so dangerous for Oliveira. Firefly doesn't lose anything, but he doesn't gain anything either, and now stim is done.
That actually would have been so big for Firefly, so big. Like that, that's the kind of thing that could have actually made me start to believe in his situation. Right now, I am all on the Oliveira train here. Like, he's got a lot of Marauders in the mix. He's been very good about producing them constantly. +1/+1, or rather +1 about to finish for him. Only +1 weapons for Firefly, no second forge as of yet. Now, he is stocking up his army with charge lots and immortals, but again, Oliveira He's made a lot of good calls this game thus far, and I'm liking where he's sitting.
I do too. I do. So the Firefly, you're right. No plus or no extra forward, just only +1. But also, there's no Robobay, right? This is just pure ground pound Zealots +1 Immortals. A big, beefy ground armies. Again, nice blink out of there on the Widowmine. If he's able to go, and I love this drop coming from Oliveira, it's going to force everything back home. I think we might just have to recall because there is so much power in this Terran bio. And honestly, I don't even know what recall keeps things safe. Oliveira is going to try to target the Nexus down, which is, I mean, he might just get it, actually. Charge Blast's not done. It's a dead base. Oliveira even losing a medevac for this. That is so worth it. If Firefly wasn't all in, Ben, he is absolutely right now. It's a 2-base Protoss against soon to be a 3-base Terran. You can't, and he was down economically even with those 3 bases. You can't afford that.
No, and some of these gold mineral patches are actually mining out already, just to make the situation that much more dire. The Raven stays alive as well. It's got full energy there. I believe it went over to the gold base to see if it could get anything done, but does head back home. And this bio ball, the one weakness of it is AoE. And guess what Firefly has no intention of bringing to this game thus far? It is AoE. There's no Templar Archives, no Robobay as you mentioned. Like, he needs something, and the clock just keeps on ticking. And he does get a nice scout in this medevac, I do believe. And upon saying that, Oliveira's like, okay, you've scouted it. Okay, you got me. Let's head back home with it, which I think that's a good play. And Oliveira, you can really feel that this game he's playing much safer. If you remember what happened on, which map was it? Equilibrium, where he's caught out, taking too much here. You can really feel the opposite. He's absolutely paid a lot of respect to moving out here against this gateway flood.
Well, you say that. He's trying to take his 3rd base right now. We don't have a lot of anything to eat with the Zealot AI that makes that happen. There are a lot of Widowmines, though, and that is something that Firefly's going to have to pay attention to as he gets ready to attack into this. His armor's not done, but he senses opportunity anyways. Widowmine 1 goes off. Stalkers blink it back. But again, this minefield is so hard to attack into.
Main base with the Warp Prism. Get the... No! That is huge! And the Warp in the main does not go off. The Raven... he goes for the Interference Matrix, not the Anti-Armor Missile. Very surprised. There's the Anti-Armor Missile. Massive concave. I mean... Whoa, Oliveira's feeling so confident, he's just launching right on into him. The medevacs unload. The army of the Protoss is finally melting, and Oliveira, he is taking this series by the horns here, and Firefly sent home packing.
He says, how dare you send me to game 5? How dare you mess with my brain that much? The amount of confidence to pick up half your army and carpet bomb over the Protoss as the fight happens. Obviously, he had won the fight, but even still, that is the display of confidence right there that you want to see out of a man looking to defend his title. Firefly, he's in a rough spot, but it does seem like he's got one more attempt on the way. 4th base on the way. He's got 1/1 +2 attack on the way. It doesn't look good. He doesn't have splash, but he's not going to back out of this game until Oliveira forces him, yanks him, pulls him out of this game, because this is game 5. This is for an upper bracket finals on the line. Widowmine drop. At this point, it doesn't matter. There are 3 probes on this base. But Firefly, he's got Zealous on the left-hand side. He wants Oliveira to move out here. He wants him to play a little bit more aggressive, try to find some value, because then the Zealots are going to dive in, maybe force Oliveira back, maybe give Firefly what he needs. But Ben, it's a 50 supply lead at this point. Firefly, the amount of magic he needs to come back in this game, I'm not sure it exists in the world.
No, and I mean, +2 is about to finish. The ghosts are out as well. His army's better. It's bigger. He's got a better economy. And Firefly, great series. Great attempt by him, but Oliveira is here, and he's here to stay.
Man, imagine if that warp in goes off in the main base. I think Firefly might still have won this game, but as of right now, Firefly, he plays safe. He plays defensive. He doesn't let Firefly get him for a 3rd time. And the expected result, Ben,